Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, baaase here, and I am back with yet another episode of this great game we all know and love as Love, Money und Rock'n'Roll. So this time, I wanna keep playing. Sorry, I keep being a long time in between. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I should probably try to be more active. Like a real gamer. I don't know. I don't work here. But let's get going. What do normal people do on the weekends? Go to the countryside, to the movies, or theater, visit amusement parks and bars, meet their friends. It all seemed distant and impossible to me, although any of the activities on the list could distract me from the dark thoughts and self-deprecation. I didn't even know what occupied a greater portion of my thoughts. The situation with Kobayashi Corporation or my longing for Himitsu. The unresolved problem of Catherine was also tucked away somewhere in there. I woke up late and felt pretty alright, at least physically. The fridge didn't have anything for breakfast. Himitsu usually didn't buy enough groceries to last long term, probably because she didn't want them to spoil, and I wasn't a frequent guest at the store. But that didn't upset me much. I could always drop by the ramen shop. Ramen shop, yeah baby. Get some good ass ramen. I was about to leave when the phone rang. Hello?
Hey Nick,
Hey, to you too.
not busy? Not that you could be busy with anything.
True enough, what did you want?
Mike and I wanted to go to the city center, visit some shops, maybe play at arcades. Wanna join?
Yeah, sure. I replied without giving it much thought. I didn't really have any other options for spending the Saturday. And to be frank, I was glad that he called. Finally we're gonna hang with Kyosuke. The guy, I kept feeling bad for him because he keeps just getting shit on. Kyosuke, with his silly and inappropriate grin, seemed to beam with positivity and optimism. Under different circumstances, it could seem pretty unpleasant. Now his good mood was in line with the situation. Michael was serious and focused as always.
So, how are you doing?
He was looking up at me, right in the eyes, and it made me feel uncomfortable. I'm alright.
And how's Mitsu-chan?
I went to visit her grandma.
So you've been left all alone?
Don't pretend like you care.
Damn Nick, you become so moody.
Have I really changed? I asked Michael. Tell me honestly, have I changed at all? He adjusted his glasses with single precise motion. I wouldn't say so.
Come on Mike, since Catherine's son returned, our Nick hasn't been himself.
He caught my annoying glance.
Not that I'm blaming him, his behavior is understandable. If I was in his place.
Enough already, Kyosuke. Michael said calmly, and Kyosuke went silent immediately, lowering his head. Why couldn't he do the same when I said it? Alright, what are we going to do?
Well, I have an idea.
He rubbed his hands rather ominously. The hours at the arcade flew by. Video games distracted me from my real problems and allowed me to forget the outside world for a time. Ah! Yeah, that's how I became a gamer. Yup. I wasn't as good as Kyosuke, but I managed to score him way higher than Michael on every arcade machine. Which was nothing to be proud of. It was like a healthy athlete winning the paraplegic games. The medal might be good, but you're still an idiot. And the arcade didn't even have medals. Yeah, just some numbers on the screen. Ha ha ha, how great and fun. Wow. By the time we walked outside, the sun already setting.
It would be cool if video games were recognized in an official sport.
Hey, Kyosuke, you're gonna like... In 40 years, I guess. 30 to 40 years, you'll be happy. But then it's too late. You'll be an old fart. And you can't keep up with the younger generation. And your life would feel wasted and incomplete, and you'll cry yourself to sleep every day. Oh, sorry. Like soccer? Yeah, then it
Yeah, then it'd definitely be a champion.
I hope I won't live to see that day. I noted phlegmatically.
Why? It's also kind of a sport. It requires quick reflexes and training.
Kyosuke would spend entire days here, and of course he played pretty well, but it seemed to me that I could have easily beaten him if I spent as much time playing as he had. More importantly though, I had no desire to. Alright, let's go and eat already. I had a snack at the arcade, but it was time for a proper dinner. We went to a cafe and I ate until my stomach was full. Kyosuke walked off for a phone call, leaving me with Michael. So, have you managed to talk to Catherine? Talk about what? Sort out your relationship, so to say. It seems like that was all we had been doing. We don't have any relationship anymore. That so? Do you feel nothing for her? I looked at Michael closely, trying to figure out what he was trying to what he was getting at, but his face remained emotionless. Why are you asking? It's just if you two are done, I'd like to know about it. Don't tell me you got your eye on her. Yes, I've been thinking about that, if you don't mind. He replied without a hint of embarrassment. But that's how it was. I wasn't even angry, just surprised. Although, to be honest, it felt unpleasant. I doubt there is a person alive who'd like it if his best friend started dating his ex-girlfriend. I wasn't one of those people, at least. What would my answer change? It's important for me to know your opinion. Don't you care about Catherine's? You I can ask directly. I couldn't get rid of the feeling that all the ostensible courtesy and thoughtfulness was in fact a disgusting display originating from the cowardice rather than concern for a friend. As if by warning me about his intentions, he was trying to exonerate himself of the responsibility for any possible consequences. That's quite a thing to say, bro. To be honest, I didn't expect that. But really, how did I feel about Catherine now? What would I feel if she started dating Michael? Just a couple of days ago, I'd have been able to answer that question easily. But now, after growing dangerously close with Himitsu... So what do you say? It's none of my business. I can't decide for you or Catherine. She has her own way. Indeed, we hadn't been in a relationship for a while, and it was stupid to think she'd be alone until retirement. Michael didn't react in any way, at least outwardly, simply saying, I got you. What are you going to do now? That's difficult for me to say right away, too. He smiled a little. But I assure you, this will not impact our friendship. Yeah, right. And if you decide you still love her, what's the point if she doesn't love me back? That's another matter. I'd say it's the same one. In that case, we'd become rivals, except you get a fresh start, you could say.
Hey, how are you two doing without me?
Yusuke returned to diffuse the awkward situation. However, the conversation was far from finished.
I'm so full.
He adjusted his belt and sighed heavily. You should watch your weight. People say obesity will be the disease of the 21st century.
Fairy tales, I'm sure by then they'll invent some machine to pump all the fat out.
I do, but... Oh, okay. 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 Yeah, and you'll be the guy who, to make it break. We'll laugh together. Good laughing. Why doesn't it react? Oh, okay. It was fucking up. I don't know. And yet, I was walking home thinking about Michael's words. The last few days I spent with him is... Wait, didn't... Oh, okay. That was nothing that I missed. I clicked a few times, so I was scared that I skipped some. The last few days I spent with Himitsu made me forget about Catherine. But she hadn't disappeared. In fact, she was still living her life. And so she would continue. She'd fall in love, marry, have children. And all of that would happen without me. Oopsie. The first time I wondered whether our paths were going to part forever. Unsurprisingly, I wanted to distract myself. I was just a few blocks away from my favorite bar when I remembered Himitsu's note about the dangers of heavy drinking. It wasn't that I felt ashamed for what I hadn't even done yet. But But she was objectively right. I wondered what Catherine was feeling right now. She probably wasn't hanging out with her friends, if she had had any at all. Was she at home watching TV or reading a book, doing homework or cleaning? How did she perceive loneliness? Did it impact her as strongly as me? Unfortunately, I couldn't find out. I couldn't just go and ask. Why though? Because Michael had set his sights on her? Ugh. How could I have been so wrong about him? On the other hand, he wasn't guilty of anything. Yeah, I mean, like, he wasn't. And yeah, I get that you don't like the feeling, but it's nothing to... I don't know. Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure that if we said that we wouldn't like it, then he wouldn't have done it. Or wouldn't go for it. Michael seems like a stand-up and chill dude. I feel like it wouldn't hurt for him to be with Catherine. Also, fuck Catherine, I'm going for the best one, Himitsu. I reached my house and stopped. Old with dark windows and a sunken porch. It looked almost abandoned. Had I been living here all alone? That wouldn't have been true. After all, Himitsu without her regular cleaning, washing and cooking was responsible for the homely atmosphere of the house. Otherwise, the rare blinking light in the bedroom or kitchen would terrify the occasional passerby at night, inspiring ghost stories about the place. These thoughts, plus the ones about Catherine, were about to drive me crazy. I wondered if I still had the address of Himitsu's grandmother written down somewhere. I remembered the house and the surroundings pretty well, but I had absolutely no idea where it was. I managed to find a telephone number pretty quickly. It was in my notebook as suspected. Luckily, the address was written next to it. I grabbed the receiver and had already dialed the number when I suddenly stopped. Of course I wanted to hear Himitsu's voice no matter what she was talking about, but the desire to see her in person was even stronger. Obsessive thoughts about have always been a problem for me. If something pops into my head suddenly, and I can't stop thinking about it, I'm done. Oh fuck, I know that too. Holy shit, bro. I don't know why, but these games, they make Soviet games, both Everlasting Summer felt too close to home, and this also, like, why? Stop! Stop it! Please! I can only feel this much. No matter whether it's about buying something stupid, drinking, or seeing Himitsu. Of course, I knew this idea was stupid. Going for to a village hundreds of kilometers from Tokyo at night without even a warning. The problem was that part of this particular obsessive idea was my desire to surprise her. I wasn't even worried about the fact that it would be a bigger surprise for her father. Well, at least I was going to have some hot nicomans. I flipped through the notebook and found a taxi number. There was a good chance that trains weren't going there anymore. It was pretty late. And even if they were, it wouldn't take too long. Meanwhile, I needed to leave this instant immediately. I phoned for a taxi, and they named what I thought was an outrageously high price. But my brain was already flooded with dopamine and I had enough money. How much money did your parents have? I don't know. I don't work here. The car came at 9 with change. Wait, what? Car came at 9 with change. Weird. The taxi driver turned out to be a chatterbox, which lifted my spirits since it distracted me from my inner voice telling me how this whole thing was an act of a madman. Of course, the best thing I could have done was stay at home and go to sleep. But then I would have spent the entire night thinking that I wanted to go to see Himitsu. I wanted to. And that was it. Soon I would have to face the consequences of my action, but I had no desire whatsoever to think about that in advance. I told the taxi driver that I was going to visit my girlfriend to surprise her, mentioning that we'd been together for a long time. In fact, in a way, I wasn't even lying to him. He just smirked and gave me the standard tirade on youth and stupidity. I could imagine how he felt and lived, but I definitely couldn't imagine myself sitting behind the wheel 12 hours a day, bringing strangers to their destinations where they had some crucial business. Maybe conversations like this with people you only meet once is some sort of defensive reaction supposed to protect against monotony. Let me try again. Monotony. And loneliness. Good. I don't know why I had to say it like that. Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. In that case, loneliness must be just as personal. When you see famous, successful people on TV, you think they're happy and satisfied with their lives. But you can't even imagine they also suffer from adversity and sorrow, from their own difficulties that don't resemble yours in any way. And it's quite possible that what you consider happiness means nothing to them. I think Yesenin and Hemingway had a lot to say on the topic. Meanwhile, we left Tokyo, the dense city districts giving way to sparse countryside's cottage. The autumn felt more prominent here. Woodland was all along the way, dressed in yellow and red. Temperature dropped a few degrees, so I closed the window. Mount Fuji was getting further and further from us, and soon vanished completely beyond the horizon. The sun had already set, and the rain started to drizzle as if unwillingly, drops falling slowly on the windshield. And it's such a long way back. The driver sighed. Do you know if there's a place to stay there? Hot Springs, maybe? There's a little town nearby. It was more like a small village. If memory served, it would only take 10 minutes by foot to reach Mitsu's grandmother's house from there. That's where the taxi driver dropped me off. I bid him a warm goodbye and left to look for a hotel. My watch told me it was midnight. A new day was about to start. The town itself hadn't changed at all, although many years had passed since my last visit. There was nothing surprising about that, though. The long arms of Kobayashi Corporation and those like it were yet to reach out here, yet to build it up with shopping malls, movie houses, and stores filled with useless Chinese junk, and fill each and every square meter with monstrous apartment buildings instead of traditional Japanese houses. Yeah, let me look. Look. It looks pretty good. Look. Ooh, nice. I actually want to see an old, nice, traditional little town like this in Japan. There was this one town when I was in Japan. I never really got to visit because it was too far away and getting there was difficult. No trains and all that kind of stuff. It was Shirakawa-go. If you ever want the Higurashi no Nagokoro-ni, then it's Namisawa, I think they call it in that city, but it's actually based on Shirakawa-go. And it's an old historical village, and I really, really want to see it. It looks so cool. It looks so nice. And I kind of like small towns. Even live in one myself. Big cities aren't really that much for me, to be honest. I like the quiet and peacefulness of a small town. Well, let's continue. In this case, it probably just wasn't profitable, so the locals were lucky enough to not have their sleep disturbed. The steady, unbreakable rural Japanese lifestyle had existed for thousands of years was something I couldn't help but respect. This respect grew even stronger when I compared it to what I considered long outdated social norms and traditions of urban areas and really post-industrial society in general. Maybe not all the effects of globalization are positive, but there is definitely something useful to it. I soon remembered the way and confidently headed off in the direction of Himitsu's grandmother's house. All the houses looked quite similar, especially in the dark, but following a gut feeling I managed to find the right one. A copper plate engraved with the word Ito glistening to the moonlight. In Himitsu's father's surname. The plot of land wasn't fenced off from its neighbors, and the garden looked neat. Not like the thicket in my yard at all. I took a few steps down the road that led to the house, expecting memories to spring to mind, but that didn't happen. Yes, everything seemed familiar to me, but my heart didn't skip a beat when I cast a glance at the rakes and the hose and the rickety blinds and the stones neatly buried in the sand in front of the door. Maybe I just hadn't spent much time here before. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice coming from the yard. I couldn't understand a word, but it was clear that the voice belonged to Mitsu's father. Of course, dropping wasn't a polite thing to do, but I was almost physically drawn closer. Still, it was amazing that out in these small towns, and the Japanese still didn't worry about their safety, not even bothering to lock their houses. Yeah, I guess it was kind of the same in Denmark back then. In the 80s, I think. At least that's what I heard. I didn't live back then. um, that it was unusual to even in these big cities like Tokyo and shit. Not Tokyo, Copenhagen, Copenhagen. That people just didn't lock their door. Apparently, people felt safe enough to not do it, but now you don't. Now everybody really locks the door. So yeah. And I don't know if it's the same over there in Japan now. To be honest, I haven't been there more than I only been there once. So I'm not an expert. I just know a little bit, and I think it's interesting and a cool country and culture. On the other hand, how would you log a shoji? Shoji. It's one of these. Yeah, actually, how would you log a shoji? Like I could just. Now I'm through the wall. With a bolt. The door to the yard was open. I crept up as quietly as I could and looked inside. Ryanosuke-san was standing half turned away from me and talking on the phone. Yes. He was clearly worried and perhaps frustrated. Problems at work? I'm telling you, everything is fine. It's going fine. All according to plan. Yes, no. Anakin is under my surveillance 24/7 a day, I assure you. Bruh! 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 I didn't expect that at all. I never would. Anakin, me then? So what? I have my own life. My daughter has been handling the mission well. Oh no! Fuck! Ah! Now I'm scared. His daughter? Mitsu? Outdoor surveillance isn't even my responsibility. Yes, no. Yes, Anakin has been behaving normally as always. What? Russians? Of course I saw their agents, but it was to be expected. No, they haven't done anything yet. Or clients. He smirked briefly, emphasizing the word clients. No, everything quiet for the time being. Sure, I found it strange too, but we can only observe for now. I forgot his voice, so this is his voice now. He went silent for a while. Apparently his mysterious interlocutor was talking. You have no reason to doubt him, Mitsu. He knows everything about his life, probably even more than he does. And that was the truth, which hurt me even deeper. Suddenly, I noticed large beads of cold sweat falling to the ground, and my heart beating so loudly that Ryanosuke-san would soon hear it. But I kept standing still, trying not to breathe, listening to the conversation. This isn't the first year I've been monitoring the Anakin family, and if I'm allowed to say, it's always easier. No, I don't think so. Yes. Of course there are results. His contacts with the KGB. Listen, you. It would be international scandal. We can't just... Another pause. Yes, the action may lead to the opposite result. Listen to me. Yes, I got it. Goodbye. Bruh. Oh no. Kimitsu is a fucking spy, aren't she? Or maybe they are actually. This is weird. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Just trying to make it make sense in my head. I'm actually getting kind of goosebumps here. This was really unexpected, but I like it. Thank you. Ryanosuke-san hung up and let out a sigh. I hoped he wasn't about to go outside for a smoke, because I didn't feel like I had the strength to take even a single step. Fortunately, Mitsu's father closed the door, and the house soon fell silent. Quickly. I mumbled, sneaking through the garden. Ryanosuke-san hadn't noticed me, and I had nothing to be afraid of, really, but I couldn't force myself to stay there a second longer. The further I could be from there, the better. Once I found the road, I broke into a run. I only came to my senses on the street of a little town the taxi driver had dropped me on. I've been under his surveillance. For how long? Himitsu? As if Kobayashi Corporation, the KGB, Catherine, and her mother weren't enough. Now that too. But how was Himitsu connected to all of this? That means that most of my life has been a fucking lie. Wait. Oh. Huh. Fuck. We told Himitsu about the KGB. Fuck. Could we? Fuck. Okay. But how was Himitsu connected to all of this? So Ryunosuke-san was working for the corporation? Or maybe for the Japanese intelligence? I think more Japanese intelligence. He mentioned an international scandal. Things like that would concern someone working for the government. Ah, fuck. I probably could have taken it if he hadn't mentioned Himitsu. I'd come here because of her, in spite of everything forgetting about old social norms and manners. I just wanted to see her, hear her voice, maybe kiss her. Handling her mission? That was just a mission for her? Since when? Since childhood? No, I simply couldn't believe that for all this time, all these years, Himitsu had been lying to me in cold blood. It was impossible. Anyone but her. God damn it. Is there a single person in my life who doesn't end up wanting me dead? I wearily sunk to the ground, leaning against the wall of a house. Wait. So that might mean that the reason he puts up with all this shit... Oh, fuck. Okay. What could I do now? How could I live? I've been holding on to Himitsu as the only normal part of my life. She was the only person who was completely honest with me. These words made the weight of my heart even greater. I bit my lip until it bled. I couldn't look her in the eyes after that. Her big green eyes that seemed like they could never have lied to me. Big fog was descending upon the town from the surrounding mountains. The last lights went off in the windows and a piercing wind started to blow from the north. I closed my light denim jacket tighter, but it didn't help much. Maybe I could look for a hotel. There had to be one there. But first I needed to go to the railway station. The first train to Tokyo was leaving at 4 in the morning, so I didn't have to wait long. I was starving and wanting to sleep. I got lucky and a compassionate station keeper poured me a cup of tea and gave me a couple onigiri without even asking what I was doing there so late at all. I hope that at least he wasn't an agent of a secret service. It was a stupid idea. Why had I gone at all? But in scolding myself, I came to face with that old dilemma. What is better, to live a peaceful lie or learn the bitter truth? If I were to try and analyze Himitsu's father's words without any emotion, which naturally I couldn't do, I come to the conclusion he was just there to observe me. But whoever he was talking with wasn't satisfied with the result. And what kind of clients did they have? Americans? Catherine? What was she watching? Wait, what? What? Was she watching me too? That would easily explain her sudden return. Yeah, it would. And she probably is. Holy fuck. How about Michael? He's also American. Wait, so you can't really trust anyone. This is why you have to be paranoid all the time. Although if Himitsu was handling her mission well, being around me at all times, Catherine had chosen a very unorthodox means of surveillance, trying to avoid her subject as much as possible. The first timid, still cold rays of the rising sun started to appear to the east, reminding me that I wasn't stuck in this town forever. But I have nothing good waiting for me in Tokyo either, or anywhere else, and with no one. The train arrived almost empty, and I was the only person to enter it on the station. The town was probably too far from the capital, or it was just too early. With 3 hours until arrival, I closed my eyes and fell asleep at once. I woke up about 2 minutes before reaching my station. When I walked outside, I rubbed my eyes and stretched. I still felt disgusting, feeling more tired than before. I definitely needed a good, proper sleep. I barely reached home and tumbled into bed. Questions, answers, Catherine and her mother. Himitsu and her father, the corporation, and KGB. I could deal with all of that. This is actually pretty fucked up by now. The 20th of September, 1987. So in 12 days. This has been 50... No. 35 years ago. The whistle of a kettle boiling in the kitchen woke me up. Then I heard Himitsu's voice as she hummed a song. That's how my morning often began, and there was nothing unusual about this one. Besides, Himitsu had said she'd be back on Monday. Even after yesterday, I couldn't force myself to be afraid of her. I put on an old, terribly stretched-out t-shirt, pulled out my street jeans on my street, and walked into the kitchen. Nico-kun, why'd you go to sleep in the afternoon? I glanced at the clock. It was nearly 8 in the evening. Well, your afternoon is someone's morning. Why are you back so early? I was expecting you tomorrow. Were you waiting for me? He perked up and realized it looked strange. Dad had some urgent business in Tokyo. That? Huh? Urgent business? I slowly sat behind the table and looked out into the garden. I really did need to put it in order. On the other hand, winter was coming soon. All the unwanted plants were going to die anyway. Same as the good ones, though. Okay, but at least, look at the bright side. Since everyone's watching me. The KGB, fucking Americans, the Japanese, some corporation. Nobody can really do anything without getting in a hell of a lot of trouble. So all they can do is just watch, I guess. I mean, what the fuck was my parents up to if the whole world is fucking watching? That's weird. Why are you so gloomy? Not even sure. Got reasons. Something to drink. I avoided Himitsu's questioning look and started with the food. In the end, I found it hard to look her in the eye. Thinking about it, she'd basically been interrogating me the other day. Promised to tell me everything, Nico-kun. I'd been looking for enemies everywhere I could, and all along my main enemy had been hiding right by my side. Despite that, I didn't want to believe that she was that good of an actor. That's why you shouldn't sleep in the afternoon. I went to bed late or early at that point. Now you're going to stay up the whole night. In reality, I didn't feel rested at all and was ready to sleep for another 5 or 6 hours. I won't, or maybe I will. Of course, everybody lies. Especially Catherine. Why did I remember her at this moment? On the other hand, Katja never explicitly told untruth. She was, however, a master of lying by omission. And she was very good at justifying her behavior and making herself out to be right, regardless of the circumstances. No. Typical Americans. Oh, sorry, Americans. You know I love you. I wondered how Himitsu would behave in a similar situation. I went to your village yesterday. What? She stopped cutting her vegetables immediately, knife hanging in midair. It was at night. You were probably asleep by then. An idiotic smile froze on her face. Nico-kun, what are you saying? I wanted to surprise you. I realized it was inappropriate, but still. A very weird choice of words in the first place. Why inappropriate instead of, say, stupid? A dirty joke can be inappropriate when told and not at an official event. My visit, meanwhile, was unexpected, but more than appropriate, even if improbable. And why didn't you drop by? He looked generally surprised, specifically surprised, not frightened. Which was a good thing for sure. Because I accidentally eavesdropped on your father talking on the phone. I deliberately paused and looked her right in the eye, but Himitsu inscrutably face kept an expression of genuine surprise. It was nice to learn that you guys have been long monitoring the Anakin family, that you have been handling the mission well. You said a lot of interesting stuff in general. Nico-kun. Fortunately, she put the knife away. I'm just telling you what I heard. As for what's going on, you should be the one to explain that. Even if my father did something like that, I don't know. Finally her lips trembled and Himitsu turned away. He wasn't capable of lying after all, at least at a critical moment. I can't believe that you're involved somehow. My words sounded calm, as if we were discussing school and not the fact that her father had been spying on my family for years. Had been spying on my family, and was now spying on me. So if you tell me you have nothing to do with it, I'll believe you. But Himitsu remained silent. So it's all true. No! She shouted, threw herself to me and looked at me with pleading eyes. Nico-kun, I'm sorry. It was hard to look at her, hear her crying and remain composed, pretend that it didn't bother me in the slightest. So, is it no or sorry? I needed to know the truth. Himitsu kept crying with her head on my knees. No matter what, at the moment she was sincere. How long? How long have you known? Dad told me just a few days ago. He wiped her tears, stood up and moved the chair over and sat next to me. That in truth he works for Japanese intelligence. Ah! 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 Anakin was right. He was intelligence, since he was afraid of an international scandal. That he is monitoring you and used to monitor your parents. But all this... Mitsu was about to fall to tears again, so I had to grab her by the hand. Only then did she manage to calm down a bit. He's been doing all this to protect you. He told me that you were in danger, and no matter what, I shouldn't tell you anything. Because that would only make things worse for everyone. I just wanted to do what's best for us. At least she clearly believed what she was saying. I had no doubts about that. I wasn't going to betray you. Hiding the truth isn't the best way to not betray me. Oh my god. Oh my god. Nico-kun, forgive me. When did it all start? 2 or 3 days ago, maybe. I'm asking about your father since... When has he been spying on us? Since we came to Japan? I don't know, but... He paused. But what? That's not all of it. I flung my arms up in the air and sighed heavily. Himitsu virtually shrunk into herself. Alright, don't torment me. Say it. Well, he showed interest in our relationship before, too, and I... She forced herself to continue. And I told him a lot. Nothing important, though. Just some daily minor stuff. He's my father, after all. But you have to understand, I didn't know anything. I wasn't doing it on purpose. Nico-kun. I remained silent. Just didn't know what to say or how to react to her confession. Deep inside, I probably was ready to believe her. But is remorse always sufficient for redemption, for forgiveness? Is forgiveness that important at all? I wasn't the one to judge Himitsu for her sins, but I had to live with her somehow. I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't push her away forever. Nico-kun, say something. How much did you tell him? Everything I knew. But he's only trying to help and protect you. Us. I'd like to believe that. I smirked sadly and stood up. My legs had become terribly numb for some reason, so I had to make a few rounds of the kitchen. I don't blame you for trusting him. Nico-kun. Himitsu kept going on, which started to irritate me. At the moment, I needed something constructive, not her whining. I need to think. She looked at me with hope in her eyes, but immediately realized that I was going to think alone. Alright, see you tomorrow then. Yeah, I replied absentmindedly. What the fuck? Even my relationship with Catherine was similar in many respects. Because I could expect anything from her. But there was things I would never have suspected Himitsu of. It wasn't even about whether I could forgive her, and the thing is, since they were kids, like they're same childhood friends and shit, what the fuck? Like, I would never expect that shit to you. What was important was, but I could be sure that she wouldn't pull another trick like this in the future. Besides, forgiveness and meekness are easy to get used to, and then eventually you lose your self-respect, and what you thought was unacceptable before becomes quite permissible. 2 seconds. Haha! Sorry, I got some... I got some in the wrong pipe. God, if only it was someone else in her place. It was my spit. Someone I'd expect such twist from. Catherine. Yes, that would be likely. A phone call woke the house after it had just slipped into slumber. I jumped up, followed by a myriad of dust particles as they danced in the dim light of the kitchen lamp. Hello? Hi. You're not asleep? It's too early for that. Speak of the devil. What do you want? Just a second ago I'd been thinking about her, but over the past 2 days I'd realized that Catherine in my mind and the one I was talking to now weren't the same person. Shall we meet? Why would we? Do you need a special reason? I guess I do. Well, let's say I miss you. That is a bad time for jokes, Katja. What if I'm not joking? How would you know? Okay, alright, where? I don't care. Then. In the bar. Let's meet at the bar. I'm starving. Or maybe I wanted a drink, not food after all. I've just been eating breakfast. Okay, see you in an hour. Would the park be better? Fuck it, I'm not changing it. Even though I'm regretting the answer now, because I think there would be a bigger... Yeah. I was thinking... See, I was thinking like... You couldn't do shit with people around, but now I'm thinking like, yeah, but she also wouldn't be able to be completely honest about some stuff like people spying on me. Like intelligence shit and stuff. In the bar with people around. I'm not sure what would be the right answer. I know, and I don't care. I'm not gonna change it. I'm gonna live with it. Live with my answer. She said, and not waiting for my reply, and hung up. Damn it, this is just wonderful. What if I were to tell her everything about him to her father, Ginose? I really needed someone I could trust. But I just wanted somebody to hear me out. I want to get this off my chest too. And since I wasn't sure if Himitsu could be that person. On the other hand, it was clearly dangerous. I don't think we should tell her. I reached the meeting point in 40 minutes, and to my surprise, Catherine had come early as well. We sat behind a table. You're early today. So are you. Wait, 30 minutes? I reached the meeting point in... Oh, 40. Ah, close. I don't want to disappoint you, but arriving early is normal. What did you want to talk about? I wanted to say that we should have a fresh start. What do you mean? I was startled and even moved away from the table a bit. Oh, fuck. What is all this shit about, man? Just as him, it's... I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. It may sound silly, but I've been thinking a lot and realized that you're right. After all, we still need to study together. I couldn't remember myself saying anything like that. At least not wording it that way. Do you want to remain friends? Catherine smirked. Guess we've never really been friends. Our relationship deepened right away. But we can do everything right this time. By saying right, you're implying it was wrong before? I hope each of us can draw a conclusion on that ourselves. In a sense, I'm happy to hear it from her, I guess. At least now, I'd be able to think less about Catherine. Because I definitely had more urgent issues at hand. Even disregarding the gravity of each one of them, the situation with my parents' past and my and Himitsu's present was way more important than my feeling for Katja. Because there was a good chance that I would not have a future to sort those feelings out in. If it's fine by you. I wouldn't make the offer otherwise. Is it fine by you though? I can live with it. Catherine gave me a piercing look, and for a second I could see a shadow of irritation cross her face. She probably wanted to figure out what I was thinking about. No wonder, I was just way too tired and couldn't be bothered with facial expressions. Well then, she said seriously. Could we shake hands too? Why not? Katja reached out and shook her hand without hesitation. Well, we'll have a deal then. By the way, how's Himitsu? Sorry, I just had to look. Why? I put myself on guard right away. You become too distrustful. Why do you think that? Because it's obvious. She threw her hands up. I have good reasons to be, don't you think? Yeah, What reasons? Well, I don't know, I replied sarcastically. Some notes for one? We've already discussed that. Why do you all think that having a discussion changes anything? That words can fix actions? Who is we? Just all of you. In this case, going on like that will drive you mad. You might not believe it, but I'm worried about you too. To some extent. Catherine specified immediately. So my question about Himitsu is quite appropriate. She's okay, she's doing fine, I replied briefly. I wish that was the case. You can talk to her yourself. For example, tomorrow at school, will you be there? I will. The conversation seemed to wither away on its own. We seemed to have signed a peace treaty, but I had no idea what to do now. I wanted and had an opportunity to take a break from my inner turmoil over her, but the whole conversation felt like some weird formality, like a military disband's about ceasefire. By the time the news reached all the soldiers in the trenches, a dozen would have been torn apart by shrapnel. It was Katja's turn to break the silence. All right then. How are you doing, by the way? Fine. She smiled a bit unnaturally, as it seemed to me. That's what you expected to hear, right? I really don't have much to tell, though. Well, I bought a calendar and have been crossing days off with a bit rate Mario. Days left before the end of school year? Exactly. Does it help? I don't know yet. Silence descended upon us again. Well, I have to go. Yes, you. I said as if I was saying goodbye to Kyosuke, not her. Damn. It was nearing midnight. That conversation with Catherine had calmed me down a bit. Whatever Miss Winters had on her mind, I doubted she'd put her own daughter in harm's way if only by letting her communicate with me. In that regard, the Americans were still ahead of the Japanese. Since when had my life become this ridiculous baseball match with me as the ball being tossed back and forth between opposing teams? Yeah. So, the Americans, they do shit. The Japanese, they do shit. The Cooperation, they do shit. And the Russian, they do shit. Like, they all do shit. The light was on in the windows, and I immediately knew it was Himitsu. He was used to finishing what she started. And if I hadn't forgiven her earlier, I definitely had to forgive her now. That's what she thought. That's what mattered to her. Threadbare forgiveness. I don't know if it's because of my upbringing or something else, but I always thought this behavior was expecting praise from a shogun. Or in our case, expecting clemency. To some extent, the situation wasn't that hopeless. The death penalty couldn't resurrect the killer's victims, but a relationship can be fixed, and trust can be regained. At least in theory. I wasn't sure if I was ready for that. Nickel-kun, sorry I'm here. I know you wanted to be alone. On the other hand, while I was deciding how to live with her, I could take her keys. Although I had nothing to hide at home, except for some dusty corners, an empty fridge, and an open bottle of whiskey in the cupboard. I would have been more surprised if you weren't here. Hey! She was about to get annoyed, but quickly caught herself. I told you you wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. So you won't ask me where I was. No, I shouldn't provoke her anymore. Whatever the case, I wasn't going to tell her that I'd met Catherine, and if Himitsu didn't ask first, there was no need to bring it up. Didn't make dinner? It's not healthy to eat at night. It's not healthy if you're going to sleep, but you just said I won't be. But it seemed her logic circuits had overloaded. Alright, relax, that was a joke. I took out a new pack of tea, opened it, and put a teapot on the stove. In fact, I'm glad you came. Really? She asked distrustfully. Now, when you've calmed down a bit, we can talk normally. You have calmed down, haven't you? I asked and looked at Mitsu. He was sitting, fidgeting with a napkin, and seemed to avoid looking at me. What do you want to talk about? About your father. Do I have a more important topic? Nikokon, I don't know anything except what I've already told you. I wasn't going to spy on you. You need to understand that I'm a victim here too. My excuses were poor, and even although it was hard to acknowledge even to myself, revolting. Of course, Himitsu wasn't a pathological liar, but now she was behaving like a little child who wouldn't admit her guilt, even caught red-handed trying to take a box of cookies from the cupboard. Let's say I agree that you're not guilty. Will you tell me what you know? I'm really not. She sighed, apparently realizing that I wanted what I wanted from her. Think about it yourself. Why would that tell anything else? I don't know. More than that, I couldn't understand how he could drag his own daughter into all this. Maybe it's more about you than your father. Why didn't you tell me everything right away? Cause he was off. My exhausted psyche couldn't withstand another crying fit. I quickly grabbed the mugs and put one of them in front of her. Which chamomile I should like? Which chamomile I should like? Thank you. Mitsu looked surprised. There was no real reason for that though. I always had a fine selection of teas. Mostly because of her, but I had also brought some myself. It's not like I did anything weird. No, it's just... thank you. We were drinking tea slowly and probably were both happy to keep silent for a while and gather our thoughts. Naturally, I had to forgive her. Otherwise, we'd never get out of this deadlock. I was just concerned that it might give Himitsu a sense of impunity. After all, she had always been a good girl, obeyed her parents and teachers, respected her elders, was a role model for younger children, lived an almost exemplary life. And if so happened that she was wrong about something, or God forbid found guilty of anything, it was always hit Himitsu hard. That was why my forgiveness was subconsciously so important to her. But to me, it was important that it didn't come too easily, unlike Catherine. Catherine always paid too much attention to what they refer to in English as appearance. At the same time, I couldn't care less whether others perceived her as good or evil, right or wrong, virtuous or deeply vicious. Respect was all that mattered to her. And tyrants are respected as much as prophets. I assumed she didn't think about the reasons, be it worship, fear, or love. In a way, these two girls represented two philosophical opposites to me. Idealism and materialism, altruism and egoism, platonic love and friendship, and carnality, sexual desire, even lust. After Nikokun, Himitsu said timidly. The tea had time to grow a little colder. I can't forgive you. I went silent for a moment and continued right away in order to avoid a cheap theological pause. Because I wasn't upset with you in the first place. Really? She raised her huge green eyes at me and I could see a spark of hope in them. Here, just put yourself in my shoes. How would you react? Of course I was surprised, but promise that there will be no secrets between us from now on. I promise. Himitsu said solemnly. Well, it's pretty late already. You can tell your father that nothing unusual happened at Anakin's place today. I grinned good-naturedly. I definitely will. Himitsu responded, but clearly didn't intend to leave. I'm not planning to sleep, but that doesn't mean you have to sit up with me. He hesitated, but in the end stood up. Good night. See you tomorrow. Good night. I saw her to the door. I hoped that Himitsu believed I had forgiven her. To me, however, this was just the beginning. Fortunately, over the last couple of hours, I had managed to calm down and come up with a plan. Nice. Without unnecessary hesitation, I grabbed the receiver and dialed the number I had memorized. I didn't get a reply right away. After all, it was just past midnight. Good evening. I'm sorry to bother you so late, but I need to know if Abagawa-san is at home. A sleepy voice grumbled. You got the wrong number, and I began to wait. The telephone bell pierced the silence of my house only half an hour later. No-san, order the delivery to this address. Sorry, you got the wrong number. Isn't this? He spelled my phone number with one digit off. No, it's... My sincere apologies. Have a good night. I didn't know if petty tricks like this would work on KGB agents or Japanese intelligence, but I soon realized Ichinose would be waiting for me at the same spot on the waterfront. and I already knew how to escape the house without attracting any attention. It was time to go to bed then. Wait. Ah, yes. Okay, now I get it. This time I felt calmer, sneaking through the streets of my district. If Himito had done everything right, I had nothing to fear from Japanese intelligence. I hadn't noticed KGB agents following me even once, and I wasn't even sure if they truly were watching me. As for Kobayashi Corporation, who could guarantee that the corporation and Japanese secret services weren't pursuing the same goal? The last train had left long ago, but luckily, taxis were available 24/7 a day. I just needed to dial an easily memorized number. The car came pretty fast, and less than an hour later, I found myself on the waterfront. I could see the dim light of a cigarette in the darkness, and a familiar slumping silhouette appeared against the silver moonlight. Ichinose-san? Called fearfully, still afraid of having made a mistake.
Were you expecting someone else?
He came close and smiled in an excessively friendly manner. Seemed to be in a good mood. Have you been waiting for long?
Does it matter?
I guess none.
Something happened, Nikolai. I hope you understand that getting in contact with me over some trifling matter is risky for you in the first place.
If only it was a trifle. I sighed.
So what's it about?
Ichinose-san, be honest with me. Have you told me the whole truth?
I simply don't know the whole truth.
He replied and immediately lit another cigarette. But you aren't hiding anything, right? Perhaps at first I was worried. I definitely was. But now anger took over. I was angry as much as this old man as I was with the people forcing us to be out here now, hiding in the night like criminals. I was angry at the people who took my parents away from me, destroyed my daily life, and turned me into a goddamn schizophrenic. I really want to believe that's not the case.
Tell me what's on your mind already.
Because my face flinched involuntarily and tears welled up in my eyes. After all, going through this on my own and sharing my inner turmoil with another person, we're not one and the same. It's hard for me to think that you knew about Japanese intelligence and hid it from me.
Japanese intelligence?
He didn't look particularly surprised, but took half a step to the side. My best friend's father, the girl I spent my whole life with. My father works for Japanese intelligence. More importantly, he has been spying on my family since we arrived in Japan.
Nikolai, I had no idea.
I really want to believe that you didn't.
Of course, it's obvious that Japanese intelligence is well informed about the project and has been monitoring people involved in it, but I had never thought... Nikolai, tell me more.
There isn't much to tell. I happened to learn about it by accident. Ah, damn. It's just hard to accept that a person who has been your neighbor all your life, a person who you've trusted, turned out to be someone you should never trust under any circumstances. I smirked sadly. Was I really talking about Ryunosuke-san? Frankly speaking, we never were particularly close. Rather, I was afraid of him. A strict neighbor and your girlfriend's father. It's a great cover, as it turns out. What about a childhood friend? Was that a good cover?
Nikolai, that is terrible. I realize, of course, but...
Ichinose glanced as he is gathering his thoughts rather than checking for any hidden threats.
How much does he know? This isn't just about you after all.
Well, he definitely hadn't gotten anything from me, only because I didn't know anything myself. At least, I didn't a week ago.
What you do now?
What's so criminal about what I know? He looked at me closely, as if he were about to say something but remained silent. Ichinose-san?
Nikolai, such a betrayal is certainly terrible. But you do realize that they have been spying on more or less old important people in the project, right? And most likely for a long time now. The question is how closely they have been watching. To be frank, I had no idea your father was of so much interest to all these intelligence agencies.
Why?
Because we were just regular staff members.
But he was Russian. How could a Russian be allowed to work on such a secret project in the first place? Not that I hadn't given that some thought before, but not from the point of view of Japan's national security.
You must have had some knowledge that your local specialist didn't possess.
Like what? Ichinosa went silent for a while and seemed to be staring through me, trying to make something out in the gloom of the night.
Like the Soviets' understanding of fourth generation intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Holy shit. Okay. I didn't know how to respond to that.
Nikolai, I'm only telling you this because...
He sighed heavily.
Well, I guess I can't make things any worse by now.
Ichinosa smiled sadly and continued.
Besides, your father wasn't informed of every detail.
Unlike Akira Shinji, I interrupted him.
Unlike Akira Shinji.
By the way, I happen to know his daughter.
Little Kakumi, I feel sorry for her.
What an interesting coincidence. It was that we happened to study at the same school. Well, I wouldn't call her little now.
But you two are in similar situations.
Except for the fact that her father might still be alive.
Let's hope he is.
A cold wind blew from the shore. Dark leaden clouds were approaching us from the east, bringing with them heavy rain and morning fog.
It's already late, Nikolai.
Ichinosa looked at me somehow sympathetically. Late for what? From another point of view? It might be too early. And what does it even matter what time it is? What am I supposed to do now? I can't trust anyone anymore. It's not even so much about Kobayashi Corporation or your damn project. It's just about... I didn't finish the sentence because there wasn't much sense in it. Ichinosa could only sympathize with me, and even then, more for the sake of politeness, as he couldn't fully understand my situation and circumstances. He couldn't put himself in my shoes. And I was disgusted by that sort of routine sympathy. Just like at my parents' funeral. Familiar and unfamiliar people would approach me and give their condolences. The men would give me a firm handshake, the women would wipe off their tears with handkerchiefs or softly pat me on the shoulders. And then everyone just left me alone in that huge empty house with the grief and sorrow, and only Himitsu was near. No feelings like that. No, feelings like that couldn't be faked. The question was whether she could combine them with fulfilling her duty to the motherland. I laughed. Ichinosa-san, can you see that the state I'm in? I suspect my own childhood friend, practically a sister, of being a spy. I can already imagine her taking the oath and marching with a gun on her shoulders. It's over. I can't keep on living pretending nothing happened, living like normal. And I hadn't even told Ichinosa about the conversation with Irina. Something was stopping me from doing it. After all, it wasn't him that the KGB threatened. Even though we were being spied on before, at least I didn't know. Now, what happens now?
I wish I could help you.
Ichinosa said heavily.
But in any case, you should worry about yourself first, not about your friend.
It's easy to say that. Indeed, during the last 24 hours, Himitsu had been of more concern to me than my own safety. And if you didn't give
them a reason, they won't have one.
He smiled and took a few steps back.
You should return home before sunrise to avoid raising suspicion.
You're right, I guess. We bid each other farewell, and I walked to the nearest telephone box to call a taxi. I had to wait a while. I wasn't in the center of Tokyo after all, but by the time the car arrived, I was chilled to the bone. The sun began to rise behind the window, but my thoughts about my conversation with Ichinosa kept me from falling asleep. Ballistic missiles? Was it that serious? Really, the words just sounded menacing. Missiles. Bridges. What did it matter to me? It'd been clear for a while that he hadn't been making toys there. I wondered if Himitsu was in danger. After all, everyone knows what they did to useless soldiers in ancient Japan. September 1978. Stuff is getting really intense and kind of scary by now. Circadian rhythms and internal clock are powerful things. No matter how much I loved to sleep, unless I was hungover, I'd usually wake up at more or less the same time anyway. Even if I'd gone to bed early in the morning, of course, I could have buried myself in the bed and kept on sleeping, but Himitsu would soon arrive, which meant I needed to get up anyway. On the other hand, I clearly had sleep issues. But where was Himitsu? I reluctantly got up and walked into the kitchen, but there was no one there. I doubted she'd be playing hide and seek with me. I hoped that nothing happened to her. When you fall asleep anxious, you have disturbing dreams and spend the whole night in anticipation of the morning, just to open your eyes and immediately remember all your worries. Still, I really wanted Himitsu nearby, just to sit together, eat breakfast, have a cute chat about nothing, wait until she was done with washing dishes, then go to sleep. Perhaps she was busy with something. After all, she had her own life, didn't she? I was worried, but tried to wave my thoughts away. Just a week ago. What am I saying? 2 days ago, I wouldn't have placed any importance on it. Whether she did come or didn't, neither option would be surprising. I had no desire to make a breakfast, and wasn't particularly hungry anyway. So I needed to prepare for school. Partly because I'd see Himitsu there today. I would, right? Not that I wasn't used to going to school without her. But it felt different from when I knew in advance that Himitsu wouldn't be there, or when I didn't want to see her. Hundreds of irrelevant details that I would never notice otherwise jumped to my attention. Piles of rotting leaves here and there, the rubbish outside stores, the decayed water pipes, and the weird stench coming from an alley. When Himitsu was around, I was usually occupied by a conversation with her. When I was alone, my own thoughts took over. But now I was overtaken by an oppressive anxiety, a condition where your perception is painfully sharp, all senses working at 110%. I walked into the classroom right before the bell, but that didn't stop Kyosuke from bombarding me with questions.
Well, hello there. How was your weekend?
Oh wait. Worse than yours, I'm sure.
Wanna bet? I, for one, don't live across from Himitsu-chan.
Speaking of Himitsu, as she dropped by, I tried to sound as disinterested as I could just to avoid any extra question from him.
Oh, I haven't seen her today. Why?
Ah, nothing.
Didn't you see her over the weekend?
I did. I saw her yesterday. Ah, nice.
So why?
You wouldn't let up. You wanna know everything, don't you? My pudgy friend clearly wanted to ask something else, but the bell saved me from the further interrogation. Even in better times, I found it difficult to focus on lessons, and now I couldn't think about them at all. Catherine came to school but didn't give any indication that our relationship had changed, but we were friends now. No doubt those were all empty words, and non-aggression pact in the absence of a peace treaty. I wasn't inclined to diplomacy and pointless formalities by nature, so the whole thing of trying to play polite with Katja made me feel disgusted. On the other hand, it was easier that way. During the break, I unthinkingly headed for Himitsu's class. Nobody was surprised to see me, and I approached Saya straight away. After all, we talked almost normally after karaoke. Hi, is Himitsu? He went out somewhere. Well, at least she was alive. Wait, did I really think that something had happened to her? Didn't you come to school together? Her face immediately expressed curiosity. No, I replied briefly. I had no desire to lie or come up with an excuse now. Should I tell her that you dropped by? No need, we'll find each other anyway. I appreciated her effort to be polite and smiled at her. Here. Even Saya-chan was behaving relatively strangely. I think Saya-chan was just happy that I showed interest, maybe. I don't know, Wiki. In order to calm down somewhat and collect my thoughts, I went to the roof. That was the only place in the school where I could have some time alone. The only thing that I didn't consider was that the roof had already been booked by Kagome. He was standing at the rail and looking out into the distance. I indicated my presence, coming closer. He reluctantly looked askew in my direction, then returned to observing a weekday afternoon in Tokyo. Her indifference even hurt me a bit. Not going to interrogate me? Fuck, how was her voice? Oh, fuck. My border. Good, because I have nothing to tell you. I paused, waiting for her reaction, but Kekome kept on ignoring me. Nothing at all? You'd think that Ivamura would leave right away, but she kept standing there as if she hadn't even noticed my presence. It had become considerably colder over the last week, and here on the roof, a cold, bone-chilling wind was blowing. It was the first time this year that I felt winter coming. Not the romance of the golden autumn, with its red and yellow days, but November's cold dampness that would strip bark off trees and freeze the earth to the roots. The jackets of a school uniform were warm enough, but I had to think about taking my winter clothes out of the wardrobe. My house was incomparably bigger than the old apartment we had back in the Soviet Union, so I had enough space for storing things. Japanese people probably didn't even know what entressols are, a necessary part of any Soviet dwelling. I don't know what that is either. Anything could be stored in them, from books to toys, from window clothes to car parts, from grandfather's typewriter to the Singer sewing machines that used to belong, I think, to my grandmother. Besides, they clearly didn't obey the laws of physics and hid more stuff behind their squeaky doors than their actual size allowed for. So long, Kaguma said eventually, and I left alone. All the best to you two. The door to the roof slammed again, and she forgotten something. Had she? However, when I turned around, I saw Himitsu.
Nico-kun, Saya-chan told me you were looking for me.
He looked normal. This is what I would have said if it wasn't Himitsu. Happiness and sadness were normal to her, but not the sort of detached attitude, which, as it seemed to me, was her way of expressing being upset with me. And I specifically asked her not to tell you about that.
Why?
Because, you know, she and I don't have the best relationship.
Are you upset with something?
I thought you'd drop by in the morning, I replied straightforwardly.
Sorry, I have something to do. I was even late for school.
Mitsu looked away and I couldn't understand whether she was deceiving me or just feeling guilty.
But I'm glad you came today.
What else could I do?
After yesterday's... No, I mean...
He panicked. I've already told you I'm not upset with you.
But it doesn't feel like you mean it because if I were you, I'd be upset.
You. And my mouth. Mitsu came closer and stood next to me.
I saw that senpai when I was walking here. She looked unhappy. What did you talk about?
Kagome? Ivamura?
She's Kakome to you already?
Mitsu smirked playfully. Are you jealous?
You bet.
Well, she's the last person you should be jealous of. You see, Ivamura doesn't really like the company of other people. She left as soon as she saw me. That was actually true. You two
had something in common then.
Is that a hint?
Not at all.
Now everything seemed normal. We were talking, joking. Himitsu was laughing, but couldn't feel some sort of awkwardness and tension between us. I was sure she would feel it too.
Anyway, sorry I haven't had the time to make a bent of the day.
No worries, although I haven't even had breakfast.
Hey Nico-kun, are you doing this on purpose?
Doing what?
Acting like a child.
No, fine, I'll drop by the cafeteria with Kyosuke. He definitely won't mind.
That's the spirit.
Alright, let's go. The bell is about to ring.
Alright.
We walked down the stairs and I was about to go back to the classroom.
Nico-kun, I'm going to be busy after school.
Mitsu said, as if apologizing. Got it then. See you tonight?
See you tonight.
She smiled, bidding me farewell. I was sitting in the classroom thinking about Himitsu. About the way she was behaving after I learned the truth about her father. About the way she would have been behaving in my opinion. Except that I wasn't even sure what I wanted. There was one thing I knew. I was fed up both with her excuses and pleas for forgiveness. If I were to really think about it, what was she guilty of? Of her father asking her to keep an eye on me? Of the fact that, out of the goodness of her heart and naivety, she had been telling him everything about her life, including me? um, of not going and telling me as soon as she received that request? It was probably the latter, the only thing that she was responsible for directly. Children shouldn't pay for their parents' sins. I knew that as well as anyone. Classes finished pretty quickly, or at least it felt like they did. I mean, she would probably be like, just feel like it's a concerned father, right? Be like, oh, okay, I keep spending a lot of time with this boy, so he, of course, want to know if he treats me right and shit like that, and if he's a good guy and stuff like that. I completely get why she wouldn't have thought her father was a fucking agent for being curious about her life, right? So yeah. So in my eyes, I see the only thing is probably just that she didn't tell when she got told he was an intelligence officer, but then at the same time, in her mind, it probably would be like, putting me in more danger when she already knew what danger I was in, right? Classes finished pretty quickly, or at least it felt like they did. Even faster than usual, as I wasn't constantly glancing at the clock counting the minutes being occupied with my thoughts. However, there was still a lot of time left before evening. I slowly packed up my bag, went downstairs, changed my shoes, and walked outside, while Michael approached me. Hey, want to take a walk? Alright. We walked out to the school gates and headed for my home, although it was clearly out of Michael's way. That meant he wanted to talk about something. Something that wasn't meant to be heard by anyone else. Go ahead, don't keep me waiting. Keeping up the same pace, Michael said. What have you decided about Catherine? What about her? I think I'm serious. So am I. I think I said everything with clearly last time. Then I didn't understand you. That's unfortunate. And still. I stopped and sighed heavily. To be frank, the situation with Himitsu was much more important to me now. But then, why couldn't I give him a straight answer? Like, Misha, you can have my Katya. May you live in love and harmony. Look, I'm grateful for your honesty, but my opinion doesn't matter here. It's important to me. In that case, I can only repeat what I told you earlier. It's not my business. By trying to deny the obvious, you're letting me know how you really feel. I'm not. You were starting to drive me mad. I'm not trying to deny anything. Since when did you become a psychologist? If you really need Catherine, go and tell her yourself. She'd appreciate the courage, I guarantee that. Perhaps I will. Yeah. Would you please? I said sarcastically and walked away. However, Michael kept following me. The house is in the other direction. I just want to do everything right. I know I shouldn't try and cut in front of you. The victory is always right. But it felt as if I were pushing him toward Catherine. Even if I didn't want that. That's how my words sounded. You know what? Do whatever you want. Seriously, I don't care. Because either way, the result depends on neither you nor me. And I don't even know. Or want to know. Or want to imagine what's going on inside her head. Besides, I can see that you really have a crush on her. I've never seen you so anxious. I sniggered. I think you can understand how I feel. I could before. What changed then? What changed? Everything did. It's quite logical that after many years of living together, some people begin to wonder how they even managed to fall in love with the other person in the first place. Catherine and I hadn't been married, but the analogy was still appropriate. Okay, I won't bother you for any longer. He reached out and I shook his hand a bit too firmly, then watched him for some time as he walked away. A train station appeared from behind the corner, and suddenly I felt extremely depressed by the thought that I had to sit in the house all alone until evening just waiting for Himitsu, pretending that everything was alright. And then I would have dinner with a fake smile on my face, speak meaningless words into the air, expecting equally meaningless answers. After hesitating a minute, I walked confidently towards the station. Many people like to pointlessly ride trains. If you look closer, you'll notice that every one of them has their own reason why. Yet this unique railway romance is the same for everybody. The feeling of the endless road, fellow riders, you know nothing about the absence of purpose and, more importantly, the absence of the need for one. New landscapes, new cities with old houses where different people live. I was more fond of walking, sometimes in unfamiliar places. But to be in those places, you need to reach them first. It's not always possible to do so on foot, as your immediate surroundings have been thoroughly explored already. Nevertheless, this time I got off at a familiar stop. That merchant district on the waterfront near the port. Why there exactly? I guess because this place had given me some hope. This was where I had met Ichinose, who knew at least something about the mysteries of my past, the dangers of the present. Was I really hoping to find the answers to the questions about my future amongst the tiny stores and fish? Well, merchants of all kinds were happily heading to and from the causeway, while others were soliciting customers to enter their shops. Right in the middle of the road, children were playing with a ball, paying no attention to the shouts and threats of the local old ladies. The cacophony of a ship, sirens, and the row of turbines could be heard coming from the port. Perhaps that was exactly the reason why I came here. To get a taste of the life that was totally unfamiliar to me. Fill my lungs with salty air and feel the sting of cold winter's wind. To be among people without being a part of the crowd, to observe their daily lives. It seemed to me that you people would find this interesting. Why would you want to watch others boring alive when you had enough problems of your own? Was the woman selling fish a celebrity? Or was that hunched old man pushing an empty trolley a famous athlete? It was unlikely that any of these children would become legendary football players. I knew all that. Yet I seemed to envy their simple pleasures and, in a way, more peaceful lives. Yeah, I could hardly picture myself waking up at the first light every day to pick up another batch of fresh fish at the port to sell later. Carry a dozen kilograms back and forth, then handle some other undoubtedly important things until evening. But I was somehow confident that none of them were experiencing any of my problems. The love, the spying, the fascinating introspection. And I was envious of them. With an admiring rather than a hateful envy. But it didn't make me feel any better.
What a coincidence! I didn't expect to see you here!
Somebody called me out as I sat on the bench. I don't know who it was, so I just made a voice. There was something wrong with the voice, although it sounded familiar. Right, it spoke Russian. Bruh! After a moment, Irina Mostovaya appeared from out of the crowd. I doubt this is a coincidence, although I have to admit I am surprised. There was no fear. We were in public place and Irina seemed to have come just to talk.
Surprise! I'm talking to you just like this, in the middle of the day.
Well, yes, sure.
Don't worry, nobody has been following you.
She sat down next to me and calmly looked around.
Except for me.
On the other hand, she could know that I had met with Ichinose. He could know that I had met with Ichinose here, which wouldn't be the best state of affairs. Yeah, because you didn't even see her following you until she called you out. I'm kind of fucking... Okay, fuck. Well, then you must be doing a better job than the corporation.
You must be asking yourself how much we know by now, right? Well, we are aware of the fact that you went to the village to see Itorionosuke's parents. And returned suspiciously early. You didn't even stop by for tea.
She smirked, but her eyes remained cold and motionless, piercing. It seemed that she saw no more of a human in me than Dr. Mengele did in his patients. If you know everything already, what's this conversation for? At least it seemed that she wasn't aware of the meetings with Ichinose.
We have a business offer for you.
One I won't be able to reject.
It's always up to you, but you need to consider the possible consequences. You're so weird at asking you to collect as much information about it as possible. Stock recommends, papers, any valuable data in any form. Perhaps you might overhear something. In return, we will ensure your protection, and if needed, can even take you to the USSR.
Sorry, but I'm not signing up to be a spy.
Nikolai, you're been in the game ever since you came to Japan with your parents. It doesn't matter if you wanted it or not. Not the same. There are no former Czechists.
But I'm not even a foreigner.
We can give you some time to think about their offer.
Why, to choose between a firing squad and hanging? I grinned sadly.
Why the fatalism?
Because I ground my teeth and flew around. I could just strangle her right there, right now. Go to Japanese prison and be safe there from all these bloody spies and counter spies. In return, I'd like some answers.
Ask.
Why do you think I might be able to find anything at all? I doubt Renosuke-san keeps important documents where I could see them.
That's what you're going to find out.
What exactly should I look for?
Any information that might seem interesting. If I could tell you more, I would. But unfortunately, Nikolai, I don't know any details.
I get it. You lose nothing by risking me.
You think it would be easy for him to get rid of you after all these years?
Which brings me to my second question. You must know that he has a daughter, and we known each other for a lifetime. Is Himitsu somehow involved in all this? It was the first time during the whole conversation that Rena's expression grew serious.
We don't know anything about that.
But you can't exclude the possibility.
With matters as serious as it is, I can't exclude the possibility that even Ito's cat might be involved.
How did she even know they had a cat? Are you sure this is an appropriate time for jokes?
I'm not joking, Nikolai. But what have you decided?
What have I decided? If I were to agree, I would be doing the same thing Himitsu had done to me. I guess it would be best to tell her everything as soon as possible. However, by doing so, I would drag her even deeper into all this. I'd be subjecting her to real danger. At the moment, Himitsu was mostly just her father's tool, but if I agreed to the offer, she might also become of interest to the KGB. But on the other hand, if I were to find something, it would be the first time I'd have my hands on something valuable, and my importance in the eyes of the KGB and Japanese intelligence would rise dramatically. It was probably too early to say that I could try changing the rules in my favor, but in the end, it could ensure not only my safety but also his. But the Soviet Union is gonna collapse in 4 years. So, how long could it keep you safe? I don't know. Yeah, but he of course doesn't know. I'm ready to try, but I can't guarantee any results. I hope you realize that.
Of course.
Your inner lips stretched into a smile so fake that it made me shudder.
What's important is that you do your best.
But if it doesn't work out?
Let's not think about the worst in advance.
I wanted to say that wasn't an answer, but stopped myself. Would whether it was that I might hear make me feel better? Would whatever it was that I might hear would make no. Besides, it was foolish to expect she'd tell the truth. We will kill you if you don't manage. What? Like that? No. Your words aren't exactly encouraging.
I just want you to understand how serious this situation is.
Sorry if my voice offer is fucked, I forgot it too. I do, better than anyone.
What a boy. See you in a week. Same place, same time.
She stood up, gave me a fake smile as a farewell and disappeared into the crowd. Yeah, today's walk sure turned out to be productive. Fucking hell. I returned home a bit earlier than expected before dinner and thus had some time before Himitsu's arrival. That conversation with Irina on the waterfront left a bad aftertaste. She made me an offer I quite literally couldn't refuse. I wasn't even worried about myself, as it couldn't get worse for me anyway. Except maybe that I'd just taken a few more steps toward a miserable end. Why did they even ask about Himitsu? They could have done so before too, probably before, but for whatever reason decided not to. The front door opened with the same sound as usual. It wasn't slow or fast, the way she alone could, while I would regularly slam it without even meaning to, just paying no attention.
Nico-kun.
Himitsu called from the hall. I'm here. He entered the kitchen, gave me a somehow detached look and started taking groceries out of the bag. How are you?
Fine.
Himitsu replied briefly, her attention focused on cooking. I mean, how's everything went? For the life of me, I couldn't recall what she was going to do after class. But this?
School festival. School festival.
Yeah, right, school festival. How's it going?
Fine.
He replied in the same dry tone. It was weird, she didn't seem to be particularly upset in the afternoon. You won't even ask me how my day went?
Is there a point?
I don't know, you usually ask.
And you usually don't reply or come up with excuses.
I had no retort, as I wasn't ready to tell her about Irina's offer.
Would you say I'm wrong?
Well, I wouldn't be so harsh. What else do you...
What else do you expect, Nico-kun?
Mitsu stopped peeling potatoes and finally looked at me.
You accused me of something I didn't even do. But you hide things all the time yourself. You lied to me.
Despite the contents of her words, her tone was relatively calm. I was mostly hurt by the fact that Himitsu had never accused me of telling lies directly before, at least like this. I don't lie to you. I'm not accusing you of anything.
Yeah, right.
She sarcastically flung her arms up in the air and returned to peeling potatoes, cutting a solid half of a topper into motion.
Are you really trying to deceive me, or just pitying me?
Himitsu switched from Russian to Japanese, something that didn't happen to her often when we were alone.
Do you think it's easy for me? Do you think I asked my father to put me in this situation like this? And how it turns out that you don't trust me, and even seem to have reasons for that? Nico-kun, think about my feelings. You're accusing me of something that isn't even my fault. Not out loud, maybe, but you think it. I didn't want things to turn out like this. I can't fix them, do you understand?
I was expecting her to start crying, but she continued in a firm, confident tone.
Tell me honestly, what's going on?
What do you mean? I asked, surprised.
You know what I mean. What? I know you've been hiding something from me. I know that in different circumstances you wouldn't have told me anything at all. Nico-kun, I'm not a little girl anymore. You don't need to protect me. I love you, and I want to be with you in happiness and sorrow.
There could be no doubt that she was speaking sincerely. I felt pained and disgusted by the fact that I hadn't told her about the meeting with Irina and many other things. But on the other hand, I just couldn't. I physically wasn't able to. My mouth wouldn't let me do it, and all the words were getting stuck in my throat. Maybe I really was too protective of Himitsu, but it was all for her own good. And how would it sound? I was asked to spy on her father and was considering if I should agree. I've already told you everything I know. Please don't do this. I replied like, look, I see. Please go to her father. Listen, if the Japanese could give you protection if you tell them. Please. If you do that, I'm pretty sure you've lived in Japan. They'll probably be like, oh yeah, sure. Just I don't know. But also in his situation, it must be fucking hard. Like, imagine being in that situation. What would you think? What would you do? What would go through your head? I don't know. I would reply quietly, lowering my eyes.
Oh, that's it then.
Mitsu said coldly and grabbed the plate suddenly. Oh shit, she looks mad as fuck. What the shit?
That's it?
He threw it to the floor, immediately grabbing another one.
That's what all your talk about love amounts to.
Ding! Glass shards scattered all over the place.
Why did I ever think that you were trying to protect me from something?
And now she looks sad. Another plate broke into pieces.
Maybe you just take me for an idiot and don't want me in your way.
And another one. Sunshine, that's enough already, I said impotently. My whole body seemed to turn to jello. I couldn't even find the energy to stand up.
That's all you can say?
There were no plates left, and Himitsu was standing, breathing heavily, looking at me with eyes full of resentment. I really don't blame you for your father, and I reacted like this at first, well, because it was too sudden.
And how do you think I felt? He's my father.
Now she's crying. Okay, there's a lot of thumbnail possibilities here, I guess. Sorry, I babbled. I was disgusted by my sudden indecisiveness and softness.
I see you don't trust me.
He took a few steps towards me, but in the end sunk heavily into a chair and turned away.
I can't keep this up any longer, Nico-kun. Your parents, this corporation, my father, Kata-chan. I just want to be with you. But if you don't trust me, if you don't meet me...
Himitsu, wait, calm down, I need you.
In that case, it's a pity you do everything possible to prove the opposite.
I stood up and was about to approach her, but Himitsu jumped away immediately.
I should go. I hope you'll be able to handle dinner by yourself.
But wait,
I need to be alone.
I decided not to stop her. Perhaps that was for the better. If nothing was to tie us together, he'd lose all value in the eyes of a Japanese intelligence and KGB. The next time I would tell Irina that I wasn't going to spy on anyone, and let the responsibility of my own actions lie on the shoulders only. I was twisting and turning in my bed, trying to fall asleep. What? Trying to fall asleep to no avail. What I was so afraid of had finally come to pass. Mitsu finally broke down, and not even because of my attitude towards her, but rather due to the clumsy attempts to protect her. So stupid. So silly and funny, like in a bad tragic comedy. While I was running back and forth between her and Catherine, not giving a damn about her feelings, everything was normal. What did I do wrong in the end? I could feel a lump in my throat, all my memories of Himitsu, from my childhood days to the most recent times passing before my eyes. I felt ashamed to lie to her, but now more than ever, I had confidence in my decision. Let her resent me, stop talking to me, become distant and forget me. That would be for her own good. Damn, the 22nd of September, 1987. Bruh! 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 This shit is getting... What the fuck? What the fuck? Holy shit. It's literally it's about now that it takes me a week to make a video. Wow. Okay, I want to say thanks for watching this episode. Remember to like, subscribe, watch my other videos on the channel. This has been really intense, and I'm really looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully it doesn't take another week. So remember to like and subscribe, watch my other videos on the channel. Leave a comment, and comment telling me what the fuck you think of all this situation. What should he do? Should he go to Himitsu's father, try to get the Japanese to help? Should he go to Catherine, try to get the Americans to help? Or should he just go with Irina and stay true to and work for the USSR and maybe go back home? Or what else? I don't know. I don't know at this point. Everything is so fucking weird. But I hope to see you next time. Bye.